You're cooking right now, huh?
I am a tagine.
What do you make? A tagine
Yes.
with chicken?
Chicken and lemon tagine with
delicious,
olives.
delicious.
Also. And I brought the proper spices from Morocco. So
amazing.
It's authentic. It's not fake.
Expect nothing less from you. And we're here also to bring a very authentic and not fake conversation that we just had with a wonderful filmmaker. That was so nice, wasn't it?
It was wonderful. Deeply moving also.
Deeply moving. And we want to welcome you all listeners to Artistic Differences. We're a monthly cinema club hosted by Union Docs, and I'm Christopher Allen. I'm here with our beloved friend and collaborator, programmer on Artistic Differences, Cíntia Gil. Hi.
Thank you. I love you too, Christopher. I don't get tired of saying it every episode. Every episode, well, Cynthia loves Christopher.
I wish, and I love you back, and so does Jenny. And I think
yes.
I only wish that I could taste your tagine.
Yeah, the tagine wishes to be tasted by you and Jenny. You will one day. We are so good at intros.
We're very good at intros. Well, we'll sober up here a little bit to say that we are a monthly cinema club. The first Saturday of each month, we bring together a group of people to discuss films that demand discussion. That means that you can join. We hope you'll join us next month. We basically ask questions, important questions about the film, right?
Yeah, but wait, Christopher, before that, how can they join? Because if you're not living in New York, you can still come. You can still come. We have really an international crew who is part of this. It's a hybrid discussion. People are joining online, watching the live stream of the conversation, and then we have in parallel an event in Ridgewood at our space. And it's a lot of fun. We have a long conversation without the filmmaker present, and then we bring the questions that emerge from that conversation to this interview.
In the fantasy world, shard is also a magic.
One of the strongest feeling with the film is fragility.
People sort of producing their own bubbles, sort of maybe as a matter of survival.
The camera is almost kind of like a sponge to absorb like their frustrations and anger.
It was a film that felt like a volcano about to explode.
And for those who haven't watched The Shards, the film that we brought this month by Masha Chernaya, you can watch it at the membership hub of Union Docs, where we show all the films that we program.
That's membership.uniondocs.org. And if you're not a member, you should consider it. It's very affordable, and there's a little free trial there to check it out. This film that we're discussing today, The Shards, will be on the Union Docs membership hub. How shall we introduce Masha?
So Masha Chernaya, the filmmaker who did The Shards, how can we describe Masha? So Masha is not just a filmmaker.
She's fearless.
She's fearless. She's very deep.
Sensitive also.
Sensitive and intuitive.
Self-taught. And she has a very personal way of making films.
So you go deeply into the reality, and at the same time, shooting it with your camera makes you protected.
She does other things too. She's deeply free also. I think that's important to say.
Yeah. It was such a pleasure to talk with her. And The Shards was her most recent feature. I think she made maybe one other, but this one won the sort of, it's not called the grand prize. It's called the international competition. It's a grand prize.
Prize.
At Doclisboa. That's where we encountered it. And yeah, with that, I think we should just jump into the conversation, no?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
How are you?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'm in the village somewhere nowhere, but we have Wi-Fi here. And I'm fine, but traveling, so it's a little bit chaotic.
We're so excited to have this conversation with you, and even if you're in a village nowhere, To be able to talk with you about your film is such a pleasure. I'm sad I didn't get a chance to meet you and have a longer conversation at Doclisboa, but I know that the film took the main international competition prize, and it must have been a great experience.
You mean the participation in the festival and getting the prize?
Yeah,
of course it was. Yeah. Maybe it's one of the most meaningful events in my life. So yeah, it was exciting. Wow. Of course.
Did you like being in Lisbon, Masha? Did you have good conversations with audience and?
Maybe I was too nervous to have some pleasurable conversations with the audience after the screenings. I definitely had some nice conversations in informal surrounding after. Some were outside. So I was so concentrated on not saying any stupid shit that all pleasure left the room. So it was quite challenging, actually.
You didn't say any stupid shit.
I'm sure you didn't.
No.
It's good because I don't remember anything I said.
It's a blur, huh?
Yes.
Well, yeah. Cíntia was remembering that there was actually quite a lot of support for the film in the conversations that followed at the screenings at Doclisboa. The audience was very receptive, it sounded like.
Yes. And I didn't know if it will be this way or not. I was preparing for the worst, I don't know, people who would be aggressive or something. That's why it also was so shockingly amazing that people are actually supportive. Yes.
Did that surprise you, Cíntia?
Not so much, because because I know the audience is here and they are very open, and politically also, people actually look at the films and the nuance, and the film is very nuanced, so it's very personal also, so people connected through that, right? It's not a big statement film, it's like a personal film from Masha, I guess. That's how people connected. People were very moved. I saw a lot of people very moved.
Yeah, we had the same experience in the Cine Club meeting, and actually, not only did you win, Masha, the Doclisboa award, I think you also got the Cíntia award, because earlier in our conversation, as we were preparing, she told me that your film was the best she's seen from Russia in about this moment right now. So,
Wow.
Do you stand by that, Cíntia?
Yeah, absolutely, by far. I think it's the most honest and sincere and deep film about Russia right now. I mean, from those I watched, which are some. Yeah.
Which are a lot, I guess.
The Cíntia Award goes to...
The Cíntia Award. We should make a little sculpture of you, something like that, to give out.
With an angry face.
With an angry face. Oh, maybe. There's too much fun to be thought about this object. I think we could really design something. We were curious a little bit to hear more about your background as a filmmaker and your influences and maybe your study a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. My background as a filmmaker, I'm I don't know the right word for it in English, probably. I'm self-taught. I have no diploma in any, in filmmaking or in other fields. I studied 4 times in 4 universities, good ones, but I left before graduating. And I participated in few expeditions with the documentary filmmakers. I started in 2019, I think. It influenced me a lot. It was Marina Razbeshkina students who were our tutors in this expeditions. It was expedition where people try to make a documentary film in 7 days. You have new, super new surrounding, some village, some, island, and you have to find your story right here, right now, and to make film, to edit it. It was hardcore. I liked it.
Well, that sounds super interesting. I met Marina Razbeshkina in Moscow once. She had that school I love the method that she had, like this sort of guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah. But actually, her school now doesn't. They stopped working, and probably they will make some school in France. I hope so. That she won't stop teaching. But it's the same. At the same time, it's a sad thing for Russian filmmaking, because documentary filmmaking in Russia now actually, I'm sorry, fucked. Because of propaganda and because of censorship, and many courses, many schools, many places where before you could get some education in this field, now they don't exist. It's sad.
Yeah, and her school was super important in documentary. Russian documentary filmmaking was the best one, was coming from there, I guess. I mean, from that culture. How
did you originally get attracted to attend and connect with this sort of immersive school or this immersive expedition?
Yeah, actually, no, I have some wonderful story. Once before I got to these expeditions, I already had one documentary film I made absolutely partisan style again. I was drinking wine with my friends on some streets in Moscow, which is prohibited. And then police came and they said, like, we don't punish you, just go home. But we didn't go home. Me and my friends, our team combined with other team of people who were drinking in the same place, and we just changed place. We went to Boulevard. We sat there and we started to talk with these people, whom we started to drink together. And one of them was cameraman, like serious one who worked in some productions, making advertisement and blah, blah, blah. He told me about his job, and then he asked what I do. And I said, actually, I have YouTube channel and I have some stuff. I like to shoot. I like to edit. And he asked me for a link. I sent the link to my YouTube and I forgot about it completely. And in 2 weeks, I got a message from a known person on Facebook. It was a girl who said, like, look, I work in Center of Documentary Films in Moscow, and I'm looking for young directors who are possibly cool. And some person gave me your name. So are you going to release any new film this summer? Because we're looking for films for our program. And I was like, wow. I have no idea what's going on because I wasn't calling myself a director. I didn't have any skills as a director. I didn't have any movies. I just had some videos on my YouTube. And then I realized that that guy, that cameraman, he gave my name and he gave my Facebook to this girl. And I decided to play this game, and I said, like, yes, I'm working on my film and it will be finished in 2 months. Wait for it. And after that, I had to find a camera because I didn't have any. Had to learn how to shoot movies. And I went to my hometown, Tula, which is 200 kilometers from Moscow. And I knew actually exactly what I want to shoot. It wasn't a problem. Then I shot my first film. It was 60 minutes about my friends and provincial cities. And that festival, they didn't accept it, not only because it was shit, but also because it was twice longer than their maximum length of films. Yeah, but I got my first film. That's great. And then there is Art Doc Festival, which was, at least it was, very influential in Russia. Now they had to leave Russia because of political reasons. Now they based in
which festival was that?
I guess. Art Doc Festival.
It's Vitaly Mansky's festival. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they accepted my movie, actually. So I even got to some festival. Yeah, and it was before I didn't have any diploma. So people were looking at me as a crazy person when I was saying something about my first film. But when you have this link that some festival accepted you at least once, for people in industry, it means that you're not just sick person. You're not crazy, probably. You want something is stupid. I hate it. And I like that fact that I don't have diploma, but I don't like that fact that you have to constantly prove that a industry accepts you because you are friends with these people and because this festival said you were okay person. And after that, I got to this documentary expeditions.
Amazing. So you did right. I mean, the lesson is it's good to drink at the streets in Russia, in public. In Moscow. In public.
I don't think this is
it's a great place to make friends.
I think the lesson is that fake it until you make it. Because I said yes, I am a director and I will have movie, and then it happened.
Maybe you needed to fake it to make it. You know, like maybe you needed that.
Yes. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't film anything, if not this situation and this message from Facebook.
As Cíntia says, we haven't seen this, or at least I haven't seen this this earlier film, but at least in the Shards, it's not fake at all. It feels very honest.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could tell us about the title. When did the title come into your mind?
I don't remember when exactly and how exactly it appeared in my mind. It's just very direct and not very smart metaphor for like everything is broken. Everything now is in the pieces and shards. Yeah, and it could be very painful, but also it could be in some weird way beautiful, like a mosaic or a kaleidoscope. Because the pieces, they could make some unexpected pictures. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like pieces of glass or mirror. Also, in Russian, at least, it's also connected to word and war. It's a word that war journalists use because, people are dying because of shards after bombings.
Like shrapnel and...
Yes.
Yeah. This confirms, Cíntia, a lot what we were talking about in the Cine Club, no?
Yeah. And even the kind of magical aspect of putting together the shards. Someone was wondering if you ever experimented with role-playing games, because there's this this magical aspect that when you get several shards together, I don't know about it because I never did, but they said that when you get several shards together, you can make like a magic sword or something, like a new object that has some magical power. So they kind of saw that also. Someone at Ridgewood at Union Docs was saying that. I think Justin?
I don't know if someone here is also RPG player, stuff like this, but in the fantasy world, shard is also a magic element that if you unite a lot of magic elements like shards, you can build your magic sword, for example.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea is that as the audience is collecting sort of also these pieces and these fragments and is putting together their own understanding of a portrait. Yeah, I guess there was a suggestion that it might provide protection or some kind of defense.
Protection from what?
Maybe protection in a way that it's something we talked about in the editing about how context arrives in the film and like the communication with the audience. This is not always direct. It's not always providing a lot of explanation to what we're seeing, and the transitions are sometimes quite shard-like. They're quite abrupt, and the breaks are felt by the audience. So I guess that I don't know. What do you think the protection does that defense or protection? Where would you see that, Cíntia?
I guess. I would love to hear Masha, but I guess what I feel in the film is that there is a sort of by creating this open, very vulnerable space, like filmic experiment, basically, between yourself, Masha, and other people and the spaces, and between the more intimate spaces and the more like open and official and even quite oppressive spaces. There is something around a bit what you were saying, like around creating a possible other image, that may give you, I don't know if a sense of meaning or purpose, not so much, but at least a sense of carrying on a movement, like I feel that the film is like you are looking for a movement to keep going in a way. And that is a sort of protection from reality, I guess, from violence.
I was talking about production a lot at discussions after the screenings, but in different way. How I look at this Shards structure, it could be protective from misunderstanding or from too direct understanding of some things. Yeah, and also I was saying that camera was helping me to protect myself from the reality, and now I'm thinking about it a lot. Like it's some paradox, because in some way you push yourself in many situations to make a film, so you go deeply into the reality, and at the same time shooting it with your camera makes you protected. Like it's not so real as it would be if you would not carry on your camera. So yeah, it works this way. Can I ask you about the screening that you had?
Sure.
How did it go?
It went very well.
It went beautifully. I mean, I wasn't present in the physical screening at Union Docs, but I was at the discussion afterwards, and it was very intense, very lively. People really responded to the film.
Did someone yell something bad or no?
No. I think we try to have people ask honest and brave questions and really give their feelings about the film. But I think we have an audience it's an international audience. So there was a group that was online that had watched the film streaming. And then there was a group that was in person in New York, but people were coming from lots of different backgrounds. There was maybe someone from Eastern Europe there who didn't join the conversation, but was I think they were from Russia, but they didn't stay for the conversation afterwards. But in general, I think, the response, I think there was a lot of connection to the film and curiosity, and a lot of questions came up.
We have a person in this group that always comes. One of the people that always comes, Isabel, from Oaxaca in Mexico, and she said something about your film. Someone had said that your film was like a volcano about to explode, and then Isabel didn't agree with the image of the volcano about to explode, and she said.
And I remember these feet walking on the ice about to crumble. And in front of the feeling of the volcano and the idea of something that is going upwards, almost to explode, I have the opposite feeling going down. Like if that ice breaks, you go down. But I don't know. I just put together the image of the volcano, that it's something that explodes vertically upwards. But instead of that, like going down into the ice or into something that it's about to break all the time. So I don't know. To me, one of the strongest feeling with the film is fragility.
How do you feel about that, Masha? The volcano or the ice?
Yes, you have to choose one. I'm actually.
Okay, of course, I will choose ice because it's a more common thing in Russia, than volcanoes. But we have some volcanoes actually, and also because I was constantly thinking about going down, about descent. There was a chapter where I went literally down with the Moscow diggers, the group of people who are really super underground, because what they're doing is absolutely prohibited, and it is dangerous physically. It is dangerous in terms of legacy.
Who are the Moscow diggers? What do they do?
This is the urban explorers that go to illegally. They go to metro stations and communications, and also they go to this whole system under the city, under the grounds, the system of underground rivers, underground communications, underground, I don't know, secret bunkers, whatever.
There's a lot of exploration of the underground in other ways in the Shards.
Yes.
We were discussing that. Like, do you feel that going underground is somehow related to your group of friends or your generation? Because we were discussing this. There's a sensation in the film that everyone is kind of building their own bubble.
Sort of living in the present and people sort of producing their own bubbles, which you sort of saw in this film too. Sort of maybe as a matter of survival and not knowing what's going to happen in the future.
Somehow portraying your bubble or your one perspective of the present time in Moscow or your generation, or because there's also like this divide between old and new, right? Like there's this younger generation, and then there are all these older values that sometimes come, like songs and etc. That's come, but it's a different thing. So we were kind of trying to understand, like, what are you doing with this idea of bubble? Is this undergrounds going down somehow related to your sense of creating your own bubble? Or is it something that you feel is generational, that it's across a wider spectrum of people?
Of course, it's not just generational thing, because there are millions of people of my age and also people in the film, mostly they're younger than me. We're different generations. Like they're Zoomers and I'm a millennial. And they're 20 years old. I'm 30 years old. Yeah, it's about specific circles, of course. It's about bohemia, whatever, like artistic circles. And other people the same age, they spend their time different ways. And they're not interested in all that sorts of stuff. If we're talking about like some general tendencies, not only very specific ones like this one with underground, there is a word, inner immigration, which comes from Soviet times. You don't know.
This is amazing.
No, we do. That's so interesting. Ken brought this up to us, and we were just talking about it. Please explain it. Please explain.
It comes from some scientists, anthropologists, or historians who work with Soviet theme. They use this word, which describes this process when you immigrate in your own imagined country. You in Soviet time you can't immigrate physically, but you can't stand but you can't. You don't agree with the general line of the party, let's say, and you have to imagine some safe space, which consists of your friends who support the same ideas, maybe some specific places, some salvation, some imagined country. I don't say that people were really imagining countries with imagined names or flags. This is crazy. That's not what I mean. I mean, this is some mental process. So you immigrate, you
internally.
hide, internally, mentally. We can also call it mental immigration, because physically you stay at the same place. Time repeats itself. So now in Russia, we can see this inner immigration again after Soviet times, and different people of different ages, people from different circles, they all do that, but in different ways, aesthetically or politically. So those guys in the film, their inner immigration looks like this. All these parties, abandoned Soviet factories with raves, music, blah, blah, blah. But people, I don't know, some old people, they also use this inner immigration, but for them, of course, it looks they do it different way. They had some, it's more about, I guess, it's also, it could be about music, but older music of resistance. It's also about friends, also about some specific, I don't know, even cafe. You know that the owner of this cafe their political views are the same. So you visit it and it's the part of your inner immigration, etc.
That's so interesting. I mean, it's such a different way to think about subculture. And, a lot of filmmakers are attracted to the underground in one way or another. Often that attraction is most curious about what's cool about it, about the details of
or
that.
Surprising. And
a fetishization
and
of the things that are oppositional or antagonistic and why they, and it's a celebration of that. And in some ways I see that in the film, but what you're describing is much more analytical and much more sort of like anthropology. I mean, sort of like looking at this with a distance and seeing actually it as we talked about protection before, but as some form of resistance and internal move away from a kind of punishing totalitarian framework or society. It's a very different way of looking at subculture.
Yeah, with an element of necessity.
While we're thinking about this subculture, there was one question that came up from the group that was rather specific. And I think maybe it really does relate to this bubble question. That we were already curious about this dog person.
Who impersonates the dog?
Yes, the dog girl. Cynthia wasn't sure if we could gender it. I don't know.
Oh, you definitely could. She's her, and she shows up in the film multiple times. We see her 3 or 4 times, and every time she's quite an important character in the scene, because we see her in the very beginning in this group of people who are drinking and celebrating, and the girl says like, "Look, stop talking about this depressive shit. We have to celebrate life, and we're all good people." There's one girl. There's one girl that says like, "We don't agree with you, and if you want, we can just speak. Like we have just
superficial conversation,
or or we can go deeply, and we will talk on the serious stuff." And the girl that confronts that first girl, who is like, "Look, stop talking about some depressive shit." This is dog girl, which name is Alisa. And also she is crying at the New Year's night when we see the anthem, Russian anthem, and we see that girl sings the anthem, and then she stops because she's crying too much. This is her, and probably she shows up somewhere else, but these are the most meaningful sense with her. And she's very close friend.
Just to say for the listeners quickly that if you haven't seen the film yet, that this is a scene of a concert, a kind of a hardcore industrial music and setting concert, and there's a person, a woman that's sort of acting like a dog in a very convincing manner, and moving through while the music is being played, but I don't know. I was unclear if she was part of the performance or if she was doing her own thing, kind of.
No, she's a performer of this band.
It's part of the band's performance. Oh.
Every show she makes, they create some performance, various ones, and every time she comes up with some interesting stuff. So that time it was her being a duck. Other time they were like athletes, and she, during the whole show of this band, she was running without stopping on the stage. Like she was sweating and all red, but no, she couldn't stop. She had to run.
Interested in intensity and endurance. And pain, maybe.
But the film has a lot of this raw energy that you were talking about, and I'm thinking about the boxing scenes, of course.
Yeah.
In the streets, and it looks like it's not just boxing scenes, or maybe it is, but it feels like a sort of a cathartic, collective,
it's kind of a fight club
ritual
in a way,
or something like Fight Club. Do you feel that your camera was a way of being part of that catharsis in a way? Like someone mentioned your camera as a sponge camera, in the sense that you were feeling this energy and incorporating this energy through the camera.
A sponge camera.
A sponge camera. Yeah,
yes.
Like SpongeBob, but it's a sponge camera.
This is not like a typical phrase that we can just throw out there. Like, oh, the sponge camera.
Sorry.
This is...
Oh, you're a sponge camera, Masha.
Yeah.
It's a new concept. You don't know.
This is something very specific to our dialogue.
Film professor.
Yeah. And also to Sony. Sony is going to be working on this one. Yeah.
We were discussing why this, why there was this specific feeling, like that you feel like you're really in the moment. And that's when the sponge camera came up, right? That it's a camera that it's not just as a stage for the others, but it's actually embodying the energy that is coming,
absorbing,
and participating in that, right? But we wanted to listen to you because there's definitely this feeling of a putting out of an energy, of a catharsis, of a ritual. There's some ritualistic aspects in some moments of the film, like when you are together, when you are in the boxing scenes, but also in the drinking scenes or in the partying scenes. There's this sense of a sort of collective ritual that can be mourning, but also partying. How were you in those moments, and how do you see your camera in those moments? Because you were saying it was a way of protecting you from reality, but actually you are absorbing a lot of reality.
I tried to film in a way where camera is like, it's very banal thing that, camera, like my organ, part of my body, blah, blah, blah. But I really wanted to express through the way of filming, not only the atmosphere in the room, but mostly my own feelings, it's very subjective. So maybe it's some, I don't know, happy events, but I feel my anger, my grief, or I look at it and I think something like, how can you be happy? My camera should be moody at that time, at that moment, not happy camera. I just wanted camera to be alive, like it's like it has its own life, its own opinion, which is actually maybe bad for documentary filmmaking, but it's different and difficult question.
Why would it be bad for documentary filmmaking?
Because there is this, like, Marina Razbeshkina method. It's about not having and not showing your opinion. You just observe, but it's almost impossible to just observe and do not exist, because you exist at that moment with your camera. You're standing there and reality reacts at you and people react. And I try to break this method and to be super subjective, super having some mood or opinion.
One shot that came up that was really, really very like singular perspective was this shot from inside the hearse, the vehicle carrying the coffin. And the someone in the cinema club said that this was like a completely unique shot, and this angle.
Why?
Just that they had never seen this kind of,
like, this wide angle.
But from the inside of the car, as I think the coffin is exiting, like that being. We often are looking at the outside, or we're seeing the coffin emerge in a different way, but it's with. You were inside the car with so I'm curious if you could describe maybe just that moment, like why were you positioned there?
Interesting, because it was absolutely intuitive thing.
Intuitive, yeah.
And I don't have much time at the funeral moment to think about the frame or anything, because I also was I organized all that funeral. I had to pay to talk with people at cemetery, to say mom's friends and my friends to come. So Yeah, there all those artistic choices, they were only about intuition or about I just had to do that. I had to sit there. There was a free chair there.
Yeah, these kind of contingencies maybe are part of why objectivity is impossible.
Yeah, and I guess that idea of neutrality may be a point of departure methodologically, but it's absolutely impossible. And actually, it leads me to another question, which is about context, because you wanted your camera to have an opinion, but you don't actually phrase opinions. You don't make in your film any statements about, the present of your country, or, like what is going on. But also you don't, and for me, that's really interesting. You don't work on context very much. You edit, and it's your editing that kind of builds meaning, but you don't explain the context of scenes. Mm-hmm. We were discussing and watching, for example, a scene where we see the memorial to Prigozhin and Kadyrov, Wagner's picture, which was, and then you cut to the Navalny demonstration, right? Where they say, we don't want to die and stop the war. And it's that cut and that editing that kind of maybe brings up something, but it definitely doesn't explain, you're not telling us who those people are, or, like what is
their
actually
views are exactly, who they're supporting. You have to kind of understand the background.
Did you reflect about this? Like, first, did you think about how much do you want to talk about the current affairs, the current situation of the war, for example, in your film?
For me, it was very important to keep it this way, with almost no direct explanations. And actually multiple people, like producers or my colleagues, they wanted me to place a lot of texts to explain which year it is, which city, what's going on, whose funeral, who's dead, who's alive, who supports who. And I really didn't want to do it. I didn't know if it will work. Actually, this was my big concern when I went to Doclisboa, and I was surprised that it worked as I wanted it, because for me it has to work. Again, it's about intuition, so people get everything right emotionally. So I know that people in Europe or in US, they don't have to know all these facts about our politics, and they definitely wouldn't know so much information. They could not know who Prigozhin is, and maybe not everybody knows that Navalny died. Yeah, and I'm not going to explain all that. I'm not Wikipedia, and this is not my goal to explain it. This is not what I want to express in the film. But maybe I can create some structure and create some frames that will give the feelings. And with this Wagner memorial and then Navalny, it's not just demonstrations, it's Navalny's funeral. And it's very simple. It's like death. And at the end of the movie, you see how this is the culture of death. The middle point of the movie, this is the funeral of my mom, and then it's some unknown soldier's funeral at cemetery.
Yeah.
Then it's Prigozhin, then it's Navalny, and it could be people at this demonstrations or memorials of very different political views, but what combines them, it's death and their grief.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it in a way it works against any propaganda tendencies that could come. Right. Yeah. But it also links to what you were saying about, to me at least, it links a lot to what you were saying about the return of times. We mentioned the fact that the film doesn't say when it's going on, right? Like when it's set. And it does feel, sometimes it does feel that the film could be in different times. Of course, we recognize contemporary times.
And it is in some cases. There's some archival.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's this culture of death, or this relation to underground, etc., that we do recognize in a way, right? That is something that has been going as parts of an existence of a territory, right?
And also I understand, of course, that in a couple of years, nobody would probably remember this events, this death, this, I don't know, this, maybe it's nice to explain something, but maybe it's useless. People in Russia, even, I think somebody already forgot about this events. And I wanted to capture not the events and not the facts, but the feeling.
You're kind of paralleling. I mean, they're both sort of moments, not just of death, but death of heroes. People who are assigned to be heroes or looked as heroes in that moment. So it's and
supposedly both of them were killed by the same person, but they're super different in terms of politics.
Yeah. We see that a lot in the conversation with your father, but also in the editing. How you are bringing an idea of broken communication, and a broken communication between different generations or different political lines, or, like this impossibility of a flowing conversation that can happen. And I'm thinking about the moment when you are talking to, I guess he was your boyfriend at the moment. I don't know if he, but in the film, right? And he's saying you are controlling everything, right? You are manipulating. You have the control and the power over this film. And it's such a poignant moment because the whole film is about actually breaking, like there's this tension between energy and impossibility and this breaking of any lines of communication between different poles. And then suddenly he's just saying it's all in your hands. Why did you want to keep this scene in the film? Like, why did it feel important to you?
I kept this moment because I have my own ethical questions to documentary filmmaking. And those questions, they will always stay open. Like, I don't know the right answer. And I understand that in a way it is manipulative, and I am manipulating the reality. I choose which frame will stay. In a way, like he's saying stupid things. In a way, he's right. So yeah, I wanted to show that I am not a hero, and I'm like, I'm not just a crying girl, which is, she has her grief and anger and blah, blah, blah. At the same time, I am very concentrated on the moment. I'm at work. So this is very weird role of being a person in the middle of a storm and all that stuff, having all my feelings. And at the same time, yes, I am that big manipulator. I'm working at the moment, and I'm crying, but I'm holding camera.
Incorporating some kind of criticism as well of
yes. So it was self-criticism said by other person, not by myself.
But it also feels a bit like it outlines some of the tensions or dynamics in your relationship, because there's a kind of a romantic pull that's presented in the film to us of the two of you getting away, maybe, and of starting a family, of having a different life, perhaps, that's there. And we are left not understanding that is maybe not the future that's chosen.
Yeah, and when he offers me to go to South America and to have kids there, I'm saying out loud in that scene that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because of multiple reasons, also because we can see through the film that he's not the most, like, the guy you can rely on. Like, I think if I will go to Argentina, it will end up not very good for me.
I hope he's not hearing us.
I mean, I don't think that's hidden.
He's definitely okay.
He's okay.
I don't think it's not hidden.
Yeah, it's true.
But there's multiple proposed futures also, right? Like it seems like the film has, and of course, one of the most powerful is presented by your father.
You think that my father proposes me some future and I reject it, or no?
Well, I mean, he certainly has desires for you to be something, to be somewhere.
Complying.
To comply, to be in part, it seems like near at least, and also to play a certain role in a family.
Maybe. Interesting. Because in that conversation, it was just an argument without him wanting me to be someone or just argument for arguments.
It's more just a political argument, or?
It was just a political argument, but he wasn't saying that I have to change my mind or that I have to live other kind of life.
No, but we do feel that there are expectations,
and we know this is a father-daughter conversation. Yeah. Also, it's not just two people. So
that you're not thinking the way he would like you to think. You're not living the life he would like you to live, and the conversation ends in a very deftone way, right? Like you're not,
and it's mutual, right?
It's broken communication again. You're not talking. He is
also not living how you would prefer, or understanding.
I'm more optimistic here because for me, it is very important that we end actually at the point where it's again about emotional part of life and like facts. I said that I wanted to work with emotions, not with facts and explanations. And here again, in terms of facts, we can't stay, I wanted to say friends, but we're not friends. We're father and daughter. We can't stand each other and we are enemies, but we chose the other way, which works with emotions, not with facts. In facts, we're enemies, but in terms of emotions and some, subconsciousness, we chose to do not split, to keep our relationship. He also understands that I'm not what he expects, probably, but he accepts it. He's like, okay, you're wrong, but have a good life too. You're my daughter.
But there's another future that the film has that it's interesting because it's actually the beginning of the film, which is immigration, because you were living abroad, right? And you come back
from Georgia.
And then you decide to stay. You just came back for your mother, but then the film makes you stay. That's kind of how I understood it. Like it reconnects you to Russia in a way, or to Moscow.
Yeah. There were multiple reasons to stay. The first one was my mother. Then it was also my mental state after her death, because I felt like emigration, this is the huge stress, especially when you don't have money, visas, etc. And I decided that I have to at least to stay for some time to feel okay. And also I have to shoot. And it kept me staying for some time. Then after I said to my dad that I'm leaving, I left to Georgia and I spent there 3 months. And then I came back this summer.
But the scene of the ending scene with the children, it's in Georgia, right? Or it's in...
Yeah, and this is probably the only one moment where I think I should place a title which explains, because it is important that it's not in Russia, that I moved. It has this feeling of open ending, open future, not good, not bad.
Yeah, but I love the fact, I must say, I really love it, your ending. Because you're filming children, but you're not using children as a metaphor. Like you didn't romanticize childhood or this image,
Of course I do.
You do?
Of course I romanticize it.
I mean, that's romantic for you, Masha. Maybe I'm misreading it. You feel you do?
I'm a traumatized person. Of course I romanticize it. But please finish your thought. And
No. It was just that. I felt it wasn't romanticized at all. That it was beautiful how you were filming these two kids playing without making it too beautiful or too hopeful, too... You see, like it's not a metaphor for a future or hope in a...
But it is a metaphor for creation, I think, or maybe a metaphor for for curiosity and exploration or something like that. Maybe no, because they're generating an instrument.
Yes, probably I shouldn't explain anything, actually. Probably directors just shouldn't explain their endings to do not sound stupid and banal, but okay, I will do it. Again, I chose this scene by my intuition, and then I understood why. Yes, I agree that, it's not too much romanticized. It's not like sugar moment of a bright future that there is some hope, but I actually wanted to place just small drop of hope at the end, so it wouldn't be so desperate, but at the same time it's vague, like weird place. It's not, it is not very beautiful. This actually, for some people, it also looks dangerous because it's railroad and it's kids playing there and it's crumbling, so it's absolutely open. It has no context, just some landscape, cloudy. Yeah, it's not happy future. It has some hope because it includes hope and desperation and sadness, blah, 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 everything. And it is about creation for me because for me, it's like there is this crumbling, strange, not beautiful place. It's almost like ruins. But kids, yes, they recreate art. They recreate music because film contains a lot of music, and music is one of the characters of the film. And having nothing, having no money, no instruments, no musical education, they just don't need anything to create something just for nothing. So some open ending, like questioning, will I end up at some good place or not? I don't know myself, so I can't promise happiness or disaster. Yeah, and these kids, for me, they were inspiring.
See, she is a romantic, Cíntia.
I know. I am the non-romantic, I guess. I'm a cynical. I'm not. But now that you talked about it, it makes me think of yourself making the film in a way, right? Like there's this keeping going, this movement. Because your film does have that. Like I feel that watching your film, I'm looking at you keep going, like there's a sense of movement, of moving forwards. And then I was thinking, like, how long did you edit? How was the process of editing?
No, it was parallel processes of shooting and editing and constantly adding some new materials and then getting rid of some old ones. So I was shooting and editing constantly for
in parallel.
2 years.
And you edited it yourself, the film?
Yeah, yes.
How long?
I think the whole process of filming and editing, it took me 2 years and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was a lot of time, almost with no long pauses, because you said about this feeling of moving. Yeah, I felt like I can't get any long pause, any rest, because I will probably lose this nerve.
Yeah, it feels very present. And I mean, we're looking at images that are just a few years old. But can you tell us a little bit about the circulation of the film after Doclisboa and how you hope the film kind of operates in the world, as a representation of this moment in Russia and in your life?
Of course, it was a very, very good chance for us when we got the prize to be seen. Now we have a lot of, negotiations with some festivals, some online platforms. I can't say that we have a crazy success. No. At the same time, I'm not surprised because this is not the kind of content probably that would have crazy success, because it is weird. It's not very mainstream, maybe, and also the fact is that I'm Russian director, and it was shot in Russia. It doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
Now we will be at probably the biggest next small success is our presence at CPH Docs now in Copenhagen. I won't be there in presence because they didn't give us accreditation. In Russia, we can't show our film officially. And this is weird situation where in Russia I have to kind of pretend that there is no such movie. And we had one secret underground screening in Moscow in December for friends and friends of friends and colleagues, just, 60 people. It was good and it was important for me. It was the first time when I showed it in Russia, not just in the small group of friends. Yeah, it was actually very emotional for me. I didn't expect myself to be so, nervous, because at some point I thought like maybe all that stuff in the film is interesting for foreign audience, because they could feel like it's some exotic stuff. Oh, wow, interesting. We don't understand what, but something interesting is going on. All this, underground shit, fighting clubs. But maybe for Russians, it's not so interesting. It's just re-traumatization for them. But I think I was wrong. But of course, it is different for Russian audience. And of course, a lot of people cried again. Then I showed it in Tbilisi. It was, again, just small screening, 50, 60 people. There, they cried a lot and they felt very sad, because for them, it's also about what they missed. Like it could be ugly what's going on in the film. It could be uncomfortable and evil and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, they felt by my film somehow how much they reconnected already with their homeland. How many things we saw and we went through being in Russia while they were in Europe or in Georgia. And they felt uncomfortable because of that. I didn't expect that result.
So you showed it to Russian immigrants in Georgia?
Mostly, like there were a few Georgian filmmakers, but mostly it was Russian immigration that left in 2022. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my hopes, I don't know, I'm always afraid of having big hopes for anything. Yeah, I just want my film to be seen by many good people. And also, I hope to do not have big problems in my country.
That was my question, Masha, because it's not a problem for you to be showing the film or to have this conversation. Like, how is the situation for you?
You never know. Like, at the moment, there is nothing specifically dangerous for me.
We should mention now that the sound you're hearing is just Masha rolling a cigarette.
But yeah, we have some risks. And also, it is interesting because, for instance, when we got to some festival, for some reason, they didn't use our annotation for our film for their website, but they wrote their own one without asking us. And in their annotation, they placed very strong words, which we avoid. Like they wrote something like youngsters against Putin, which is actually also not true, because I can say that this is the film, like it is different. And also not because I'm afraid. That wasn't my point. This is not journalistic manifesto, which explains what is good and what is bad. It's different. And they used that text, and we saw it, me living now in Russia and my colleagues, which also live here, or they visit Russia from time to time. And we had to ask to change the text. Yeah, and we were just hoping that nobody will notice this annotation from some circles, which could bring us any problems. And all sorts of stuff like that. There's small risks. But of course, for this festival, it is more catchy, clickbait thing. I understand why they do that. But for us, it is about safety. And also about staying honest, because again, it's not youngsters against the regime. That it is more difficult,
complicated.
Yes, it's more complicated. So yeah, I just can't show it. Okay, I'm probably could show it here officially, but just for one time, and then I don't know what will happen. Probably, this will be the end of my free life. I just don't want to risk. Nobody could predict what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't want that also because we want to see your next movies. Being selfish.
Thank you.
We appreciate your bravery in this conversation and in general with just your filmmaking. It's really impressive and important.
Absolutely.
We do have some good people who will watch this, who have watched and who will watch this film and hope to share it. It's not a high profile audience necessarily, or a lot of people, but I think they will be moved by your work.
Yeah, and I was very surprised how the conversations in the Cine Club were so close to the things that we talked here.
Yeah, we have asked in the past our filmmakers and guests if they can give us a sound that we can listen to because this is an audio experience for the listeners, but something from your film or from your life or from your memory that we should listen to as we contemplate this conversation and let it settle in. Do you have any intuitions there?
Wow, it is stupid because I have the first, and it means the worst idea right now. I don't think I'm gonna offer that, but I was thinking about church bells because I love church bells and I have a lot of field recordings of it. And recently I was recording some monks singing in the monastery, and some recordings of church bells ringing, but I'm not sure. Like, it's too.
What's wrong with that? That's fantastic.
It's a wonderful idea.
I don't know, because it's too many. I don't know ideas in that, and I'm not a religious person myself.
Well,
yes, and I don't want to give some wrong feeling. Also, because at least in Russia, this is very tricky path because we have this. The church institution is connected to the government very much, and it could be perceived wrong. So I don't know. I would actually think, but I have a bunch of field recordings of some stuff I like. I would suggest something real, not the sound from the film, because I don't know. There is a film, and I would use something different.
Well, we'll let that sit, and you can revise your opinion. But I like the idea of this ringing. We will provide no context except for your own qualification. That, but I say we let it ring.
Okay. I will go through my recordings, and I will think. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Masha.
Okay. Thank you, Masha.
This has been really wonderful. Really appreciate your generosity and wish you a lot of luck in the rest of your retreat and your work on your script.
Thank you very much. I had big pleasure. Thank you, guys.
And keep in touch.
I think we should say a very big thank you to our members, no?
I agree. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
And the support and engagement of our members, you, are the reason why we are able to run this cinema club.
And we're hoping to continue to run it and that more of you will join us. And so if you haven't joined us yet and you can afford to be a part of this, not that it's that expensive, it's a small, minor $7 a month fee, please consider joining at membership.uniondocs.org. Membership.uniondocs.org.
You have been listening to Artistic Differences. We want to say thank you on behalf of our whole team. That's Cynthia Gill, Christopher Allen, and I'm Jenny Miller. Thank you, of course, to our featured filmmaker this month, Masha Chernaya, and to our wonderful editor, Allison Rogers. Thank you to Andre Simoish for the music you heard in today's episode, and much gratitude to all of the members of our Cine Club that meets the first Saturday of every month. We encourage you to sign up for the next one at uniondocs.org/artistic-differences. And a small reminder that you can watch the film that we've been discussing in today's episode over on our membership hub. It's membership.uniondocs.org. Okay, I think that's it. Hope to see you soon, and thank you for listening. Bye.